Hi, let me introduce myself. My name is Srinivasan Mohan. I'm a former scientist from Indian Defense. I'm specialized in the field of navigation technologies like inertial navigation, GPS, and other navigation technologies. In this video series, I'm trying to demystify the way the aircraft flies, also try to explain the systems and concepts of the aircraft in a much simpler and easier way. First of all, be clear that I'm neither going to throw some equations to break your head, nor going to give a theoretical or university style of lecture here. I'll be explaining the concepts in a much simple layman language. The objective of this video is to explain the complex system of aircraft and its functions in a much simpler way so that even a layman can understand and relate it with the minimal knowledge that he has. Have you ever amazed and wondered how come such a huge aircraft flies on thin air? I'm sure you would have. Even I was. Aircraft technology, as you know, is one of the most complex subjects in the science and technology field. In this chapter of aircraft analogy, I'm going to teach you that aircraft using an analogy so that even a layman can understand. If you're not an aircraft geek, you would have been told that a lot of systems inside the pilot's cockpit make the aircraft fly. And it's absolutely true. In case if you're an aircraft geek, you might be already aware of those systems like thrust, ailerons, flaps, rudders, flight management system, navigation system, flight plan, guidance, control, airframe, propulsion, etc., etc., etc. Oops. These names look very complex and then remembering them is very difficult unless you try to understand their functions in a simple way. These terminologies are also easy to forget. On top of them, imagining how these systems work together inside an aircraft to make it fly is absolutely complex. So in this chapter I'm going to use a simple technique. One of the basic techniques for learning for any subject is that in order to understand something very complex, we need to relate it to something we already know. Going by the above technique, we need to identify a simple analogy that relates the aircraft so that we can easily compare two. And the analogy that I'm going to take today to relate an aircraft is human body. I'm sure you're surprised. How come the human body is related to the aircraft? Human body is so different from the aircraft. You are trying to wonder what is the relation between aircraft and the human body. Yes, in my opinion, there is a perfect relation. The functions of human body are exactly similar to the way how the aircraft works. Let's see how they are similar in the following series. I'm sure that you will agree with me at the end of the video. Still can't believe? Okay, continue to watch. Remember these lines. The aircraft or aeroplanes are just non-living objects made to do what humans can do normally. Of course, except the wings part. On a funnier note, that technology has been copied by Wright brothers from birds. Okay, before trying to compare the analogy of aircraft and the human body, let's try to understand the purpose of the aircraft. The purpose of the aircraft is always to carry people or goods from one place to another. So does the human being. They also move from one place to another. So does the car or any other vehicle that moves or carries people from one place to another. What is the big difference? Of course, the big difference is aircraft is huge. It flies in air and travels a larger distance, whereas the humans just move on ground on her home. But how does the movement take place? Let's see. Assume that we are at a home and sitting on a couch in the hall. In case we have to move to a particular bedroom inside the house, how do we try to move? The movement requires three important factors. Those three important factors are: first, you need to know where you are at any point of time. Second, we need to know where the destination is. And third, we also need to know the route from the hall to the bedroom. These are the three things that are important for us to know how to move. Now let's come back to our aircraft terminologies and try to equate with our analogy, that is human body and its parts and functions. Let's take the airframe first. The analogy for the airframe of the aircraft to the human body is nothing but skeleton. Does that sound similar? What is the basic structure that keeps the human body together in a stable form or shape? It's our skeleton, right? The skeleton comprises of bones and joints. Similar way, for an aircraft, the airframe forms the skeleton, and it has a lot of joints and structures that try to keep the aircraft intact. So, can I say airframe is equivalent to skeleton? Yes. Now we have the skeleton for the aircraft in the name of airframe. So, if the skeleton or the airframe has to do something, it needs some energy. Even for the body, if it has to move or do something, we need some energy without which no action can be taken. Right? So what is that gives energy to the aircraft? Have you heard of propulsion? Propulsion is one fuel that gives aircraft the energy that which it can move or fly. So what is the human equivalent of the fuel? The human equivalent of fuel is nothing but our food that we eat and then the water we drink. That's the one that keeps us energetic. Am I right? So can I say propulsion is equal to the food that we eat? Yes. Now the engine. What is the purpose of the engine for an aircraft? What does it do for aircraft? The purpose of engine is to convert the fuel or the propulsion into actual usable energy. The actual usable energy in the aircraft terms is called as thrust. If the thrust is more, then the aircraft can fly. So what is the human equivalent of the engine? The human equivalent of the engine is nothing but our digestive system. Our digestive system helps us convert the food that we eat into usable energy with which we can walk, talk, move, or do whatever we want. What are the other body parts that are involved in the human motion? If the human has to move from one place to another freely, he needs to swing his arms and legs. In case of turning, he'll use his hip joints to turn the whole body, and then he'll turn the whole body with the help of ankles and shoulders. These organs described above are the ones that forms the control system of the human's body. So what is the equivalent of the control system for the aircraft? The control system for the aircraft comprises of three important things: the ailerons, the rudders, and the elevators. The ailerons help the aircraft roll clockwise or anti-clockwise. The rudders will help the aircraft move left or right. The elevators are the one which help the aircraft pitch up or pitch down. These three components of the aircraft forms a complete control system. So can I say ailerons and rudders and elevators are equal to legs and hands and hip joints? Yes. The hip joints and ankles helps us turn left or right in a much smoother way. Otherwise, we'll be walking in a straight line like a robot. So now we have the energy to stand, structure to keep us intact, food as a fuel, digestive system as engine, and arms and legs as a control system. Is a simple human body is sufficient for us to properly move from one place to another? Is all that equals the aircraft? No. We have other body parts that also helps us in making the motion. For example, our eyes, our brain. The aircraft also has some intelligence in terms of finding out where it was, currently where it is, where it has to go, and how it has to go. Let's take a small example to understand the concept. Imagine that you are sitting in your bedroom at one end of the apartment. Suddenly, your doorbell rings. Do you know exactly how to reach the door for opening? What are the things that we do in order to move from your bedroom to the hall? Is this path is always a straight line path? No. What are the things that we do? Try to recollect. Okay. There are five things that we do. First thing is we'll try to assess where I am currently. Second, we'll try to assess where the front door is. Third, we'll try to understand the path between bedroom and the front hall. Fourth, we try to also assess the direction that I am looking currently. Fifth, the direction of the front door. All these things will help you build a route map in your mind so that you can turn and then start walking towards the door to opening it. And while you are walking towards the door, you also try to assess yourself where I am every point of time. Why do we do that? The reason why do we do that is we need to know at every point of time where we are so that according to the map we can take a left or right or moving forward decisions. This is very important for a person to move from the bedroom to the hall without any hassles. In order to understand this particular example, imagine that you are a blind person and then now the doorbell rings and you have to start moving. You will understand it very slowly. There is another way to do that. Understand you are sitting in a very dark room and you have to move from one place to another. Now you will find the difficulty. From the above example, it is clear that we need six important parameters for the movement. In addition to those six important parameters, we also need to control our arms and legs and also stabilize the body all along the movement. So it's clear that we need a system that controls the organs, keep the track of movement and gives commands to arms and legs and other systems to tell exactly what has to be done. Which body part do you think that's a function of controlling the organs and keep computing various things in our body? It's our brain. The brain is the most powerful computer than any other computers in the world. It can do so much of multitasking and switching between tasks and retrieve information at such a high speed, even the high-end processors of today cannot compete with it. Brain and central nervous system together acts as coordinator and controls the whole body to start moving and also keeps our body stabilized all along the movement so that we don't fall down. So in order to find out the position where we are at any point of time and to know the direction where we are, we use another organ. That organ is nothing but our eyes. The eyes, as a navigation engineer, I call them as human navigation sensors. So what is the equivalent of the brain and eyes in terms of aircraft? The aircraft equivalent of the brain is nothing but flight management system. The eye equivalent of an aircraft system is nothing but the navigation system. The route plan that we have in our mind and retrieve on demand is equivalent to the flight plan in the aircraft terminologies. The brain stores the route maps, whereas in terms of aircraft terminologies, the FMS stores the flight plan. In order to move, the human being uses eye, brain, arms and legs, whereas in the aircraft terminologies, we have guidance, which is contributed by the flight management system. We have control, which is contributed by the ailerons, radars and elevators, and then the navigation system. So together we call it as guidance, navigation and control. Let me summarize how the human motion works. We have the skeleton, we have the energy, and we have the arms, legs, all the body parts. If we have to move, we use our eyes. We keep observing where we are at any point of time. We send those signals to the brain. The brain compares the information with the route that it has in its storage and sends signals to the legs, hands and hip joints so that our body moves towards the destination in the planned route. The brain again requests eyes to provide info at every point of time. The eye sends it, the brain gets this location info and compares with the route map again and again. And that way it can control the limbs so that we can move as desired. This is a continuous process using which we as a human being move from one place to another. In the same way, let me summarize how the aircraft motion works. Using the airframe and the thrust from the engines, the aircraft can now start moving. While moving, the navigation system identifies the aircraft position at any point of time and keeps posting the location information into the FMS. The FMS receives this location info and compares with the flight plan that he has, and based on the deviation from the flight plan, the FMS directs the control systems to take appropriate action so that the aircraft stays on course. This way, the FMS provides guidance to the aircraft with the help of navigation system and control system. The whole thing is a closed-loop system where FMS continues to receive position information from the navigation system at every point of time, and the comparison with the flight plan keeps happening. This way, the aircraft can be navigated towards the destination and in the desired path. Let me summarize this chapter for you. The human skeleton are equivalent to the airframe of the aircraft. The digestive system is equivalent to the engines of the aircraft. The food that we eat and the water that we drink are equivalent to the propulsion of the aircraft. The energy that we have to start moving and doing things is equivalent to the thrust that the aircraft has. The hands, legs and hip joints of the human body are equivalent to the ailerons, rudders and elevators. The road plan that we have in our mind is equivalent to the flight plan stored in the FMS. The brain is equivalent to the flight management system. The eyes are equivalent to the navigation sensors. The nervous system that we have is equivalent to the connection between the flight management system, control system, navigation system and other systems. Basically the data network. The blood flow is equivalent to the electrical energy flowing across the aircraft, so that gives life to each of the components. Hope you now understood the analogy between aircraft and the human body. I will explain the importance of each of these systems for an aircraft with more and more examples in my next video.